Welcome to episode 25 of the Bikini Besties podcast. I'm Lo.
Kaylia.
Stephanie.
And today's episode is quitting the sport. But before we dive into our topic, like usual, we will just jump into some prep and life updates. I think we kind of established an order now. But our earlier episodes kind of jumped around. But
Yeah.
I think you're designated
I'm
as
going
first now.
Prep has started prepping. I have definitely feel a lot more fatigued this week, and a lot more hungry. And definitely a lot more hungry. My food hasn't changed. My cardio's gone up last week from 80 to 90 minutes. And so now I usually get like an hour, 45 minutes done in the morning. If I don't get that done, I am a monster because it literally just weighs on me all day. But so far I've gotten kind of into a good schedule or regime. Posing has gotten way better. That is what I'm most proud of this week because I've been posing a little bit more at night, trying different things. And I think Angeline really likes my current routine. And so now we're just adding little things. And so now I feel like I'm kind of settling into my routine, which was my biggest feedback. And so as much as I'm focusing on diet and workout and that kind of thing, it's kind of my main thing is posing for sure. So the other thing I'm just kind of checking the boxes because all of that has always worked out. But the posing, we have taken some strides. So I'm happy.
Yay.
Very happy this week. So.
What stuff with your posing has been what's been
things?
improving, changing, or what has made it like?
I think mainly practicing more.
Mm-hmm.
It's helped me at night a little bit in terms of distracting myself when I'm very, very hungry because between 7 and 9 are like my witching hours.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. So practicing at night has really helped. Really just watching other people's routines and just kind of seeing if it's if it kind of jives with the chemistry of my routine and then trying it, seeing if it's a go, seeing if Angeline says no. So that's really helped as well. And then just also posing when I don't have a deadline. So I usually I'll pose over lunchtime or pose in the morning or something when I have to go somewhere or I have to be somewhere. Yeah. Whereas posing at night, I don't have anything to do. And so that's it made me more relaxed. And so I think that's helped quite a bit too. So overall, those things have kind of all come together. So crossing my fingers. And then last week, my other big win was that I check in twice a week. And so with my first check-in of last week, my weight went up and I didn't react. Good. Because I put it next to, photos of where I was at the beginning of this year, about the same amount of weeks out. And so I could see that I was tighter, that kind of thing. So I didn't react to the scale going up. And then my second check-in, the weight dropped. And I was also very happy that I didn't overreact in that way too. Like I wasn't super happy or
you didn't reward it because if it's a drop, now we can celebrate.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I was just kind of neutral with both because we're just cruising. So
just executing the plan and it's not being emotional,
still focus on the look.
Yeah, in either way. So not being negative, but also not being overly positive when it does jump because
that's almost like rewarding that.
Exactly. And so now I'm just kind of seeing the benefits of that mental journey that I took earlier this year by not weighing myself for that prep. So everything's kind of coming together this week, but it's prep, so we'll see next week.
She's like, I'm hungry.
Goes up and down and up and down. So I'm ready for
how you feel next
roller coaster. But how about you guys?
Just still improvement seasoning. No changes to my food this past week or cardio. We're just keeping things steady. Weight is staying at 129, so still 9 pounds above my prep weight, and we're 14 weeks post-show.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, 14 weeks. I have like a little less than 3 months now so now it's almost like a countdown towards when prep will start. Yeah. Now because we hit that. It'll be a 6-month total improvement season, which is the shortest one I've ever taken ever. I've always taken a year and a half, and then the last one was 2 years. I always got longer.
Yeah.
And then this one is the shortest, so that's weird. But we'll see if we built any a little bit of glute. But my glutes do feel like, you can kind of just like feel that your body's changing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can just kind of, it's like and my measurements are actually like my waist isn't changing and my glute has gone up, but like, and my weight isn't really changing. Like it's
Yeah.
only gone up like 1 pound in 2 months.
That's
like
That's crazy. That's awesome.
No, sorry, that's a lie. 2 pounds in 2 months. So 1 pound a month. Yeah.
Still.
But still, so but like my glutes just feel harder and dense. Like they just like there's just more there.
it's more muscle
Yeah,
versus like
fat
body fat
and
coming on.
yes, it feels. I don't know. So hopefully it's not on my head. Hopefully there's some butt back there. But it does feel different. So I'm just like hoping that like it's real. But
Yeah.
and we've got like 2.5 more months left. But and then we'll start prep. But yeah, no food changes. We're gonna try. I think Paul said he'd like to I'm at like 5 sessions of 25 minutes of cardio, and he would like to get that lowered once or twice before we start prep. And so that might be like the next move. I kind of rather have more food, but
that's fair.
whatever, it's fine.
Right?
Because 25 minutes of cardio, but anyways, if we can get down to like 20 minutes or 15 minutes of cardio, that would be nice.
With that 25 minutes, are you hitting a heart rate range or an intensity, or is it just walking?
It is, I was the whole time just doing like the 130 heart rate, like the normal heart rate, 25 minutes, it's like an incline. And, but now I've lowered that heart rate, the intensity has gotten lowered. So we did like lower the intensity a bit, to just like, so now instead of like, I would do like, to get my heart rate up to 130, I'd have to do like a 10 or 11 incline and 3.5 speed. And so now I'm still doing the 3.5 speed, but it's like a 7 incline. And my heart rate is at like 118, 120. So we just lowered the intensity. Yeah. And that's been fine. So, and then save that intensity for when prep starts. And like, then we'll go back to the 130.
Yeah, so like 120-ish.
Yeah, 120 is probably where I'm at now-ish. And then
that just gives you like another tool to like deploy when you're ready to cut.
Yes.
Like where it's like not even necessarily having to add more minutes, but add more intensity. Intensity.
Yeah. So, and then just focused on training. I'm really like tight right now. My hip, like I was actually just talking to you guys about this when I got here, but like my hips are so tight. Like it's probably the tightest I've ever experienced my hips. And it's like going up into my back and then around the top of my glute and then like into my adductors. Like it's just like this whole hip area. And so that's been like, what's funny is I don't really feel it when I lift. So I can like still push hard when I lift or something. It's when I like stop, and it's when I'm like walking, and it's when I'm just seated or I get up from being seated. And so I just feel a bit like they're not recovering. It's been 10 days. Like I've literally been keeping track because I'm like, hey, like, and so it's been a long time. And I do mobility work and I stretch and I've been taking baths, and so it's just not getting better. So I might have to talk about like doing some kind of like deload type week. I haven't done any kind of deload anything since improvement season
some
started.
Extra rest,
and
some recovery.
I haven't done. And so since improvement season started, actually all prep plus improvement season, I have not taken a break. Like it has been 5 days a week, like just super hard in the gym, especially this last few months. So I'm just feeling run down a bit. My little body hurts.
Because you go so hard.
So we'll
trying
see.
to be so intentional.
Yeah, trying to build the butt. Trying to
you're
make my butt harder. But yeah, so anyways, that's me. I don't think there's anything else. Nope, just working and just working and lifting, eating.
That's the life, right?
Yeah.
The bikini life.
How about you?
Well, things are good. I am 1 week post show. And it's like, for me, it's like really hard to like be like my stage weight. Cause it's like, I woke up like that morning lower than my coach wanted me to. I was like 118, 119, 118. And he wants me on stage above 120. So like when the last time I weighed myself before I left my hotel room to like head to the stage, I was like 121.5. So like in the same day on stage day, I went from like 118 to 121.5. So that's like a big difference in pounds. But when I got home from the show, so last week when I was recording the episode, I was 118 that Monday morning or 118 or 119. So I was like back at that low weight.
Mhm.
And then we adjusted food on Monday. So my carbs are up a little bit. And then my cardio is still just 30 minutes light walking. You just had lists on the treadmill. And I was like, okay. And then what else did we change? I think that was kind of it. And we just have kept it steady there. And my weight's maintained right around a little over 120 this whole week. And still through today. So we check in tomorrow on Monday to see if we need to make any changes. And honestly, it feels so weird to me to be eating as much as I am and to be not doing as intensive cardio as I am and keeping my weight maintained.
Yeah, because you fought for it.
Yeah. And I am so used to, even in my past preps, having to just like grind so hard for shows and like post show being like this very volatile time. And it's been very consistent. I think, I mean, I've done a very, very good job being like on point with like my macros. I've incorporated some different food but in my macros, but like good clean foods. Like I added peaches because I love fruit, but you know, I replaced like some strawberries and bananas with peaches, so it's like very similar, like fruit for fruit. I just think like in season fruit is like superior. And then I'm also doing, instead of like just like zucchini or green beans, I'm making like this like little like open face sandwich thing with like some peppers and onions, and so it's like a little different,
just a little variety in your food choices.
Yeah.
Some vegetable fruit, but
and I'll probably take those out soon because we have decided I am now 3 weeks out. I am going to do San Antonio Pro, which is September 14th, and it is the last cutoff show date for the Olympia 2024 qualifications. So we're going to give it our best shot and hopefully not hopefully, we are going to bring our best package yet. But again, being like 3 weeks out, it just feels so backwards to me I've never like reversed between shows. I don't know if it was like a different level that I was at before, or different, not as thorough of like detailed coaching. But I feel very grateful to be at this phase. And I've seen other people do it on social media, and then I've just like felt like, oh, that could never be me. And I'm like, oh,
it is.
I worked for this. This is really happening.
And your muscle maturity and just different things have also changed in terms of your development as an athlete.
I do have a lot more muscle than I have in the past, and I think that really helps with your increased metabolism and things like that too. And oh my gosh, my strength is through the roof. You guys, I like had a PR on split squats yesterday.
And enjoys those peaches.
Right?
Yeah. I was doing 100-pound dumbbells in my split squats. And then I was like doing hip thrusts with 3 plates per side.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh, this feels good.
Your body likes that extra food.
And then Friday night, Anthony spotted me doing overhead shoulder presses, and I got up to 50-pound dumbbells for 12 reps.
Whoa.
Like,
That's
who am I?
amazing.
I never even do that in off season.
That's crazy.
And I'm 1 week post show and 3 weeks
off-season?
out. I'm
Right?
Like, I don't know if
It's
I want to
'cause
go that heavy.
That's true. That's true.
The 50s were heavy.
Yeah. That's intense.
Dang.
That's awesome. Energy well used.
So energy and strength are so high.
Going to your lifts.
And so I'm a little, but then like I like do all this energy in the gym, like feeling super strong, and I'm like really tired.
Yeah,
later.
you're like, I'm beat.
I'm dead. So it's actually been kind of even a challenge, like without my cardio, to get my steps up between. I try to like, my minimum is supposed to be 10,000, but I try to get like up to around 12 on average, 12,000 steps. I just really like the activity, but I've been like having to go for walks because I'm so tired, like between things, that I'm like sitting and like chilling and I'm like enjoying being home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I really still got to be active.
Yeah.
So
Can't relax too much.
right? And work's been busy, so during my work days I'm not taking as many walks, so I've just been having to be very conscious of keeping my activity level high. And I think that's something that happens to people a lot too, is when they are tired, or have like more cardio, they forget to like keep their NEAT and their steps high.
Yep.
So I am glad I'm like tracking that and keeping it at a good level.
That's
and
why.
consistent.
So my coach, we track cardio step. There's my total steps for the day, but then there's non-cardio steps because he likes to see, like in a prep, as he increases cardio, he wants to make sure it doesn't take away from my NEAT.
Your other activity.
And so this has to stay. The NEAT has to stay where it is as we increase cardio. Because we can't interchange or we can't swap the two. Yeah. And so
especially with you working from home and having your own business and that sort of thing. And
it's easy to just be seated and like, especially when you think like if your cardio gets increased, it's like, okay, well now I'm spending my time moving over here.
Yeah.
But you still have to move over here in your day to day.
Absolutely.
Like you can't just be like, well, I did 90 minutes of cardio, so now I'm going to sit all day.
Yeah.
Where when I was only doing, 30 minutes of cardio, I was more active but you can't. You got to. The whole point of cardio going up is to increase
the activity.
Yeah. And then even with my cardio being down and my food up, it's like I'm so used to like grind, watch for the scale for a drop, and now I'm like maintain.
You're like, no, it's just boring.
Like this 3 weeks out versus like 3 weeks out from your first show.
Yeah, we were still waiting for a weight drop at 3 weeks out from the first show and like pushing and now it's like all right. It's weird. So I mean, I did take a couple days off of posing, even though posing's a big focus of mine. I just needed the mental break and like my back needed a little break. But then I started posing again the end of this week and it's felt really good. Nice. And that's kind of where I'm at is 3 weeks out. I check in tomorrow again. So we'll see if any changes. I'm so curious to see if we do any more like dialing it back a little because it feels weird to me, but
hey, soak it up though. You earned it. Soak up this this phase of prep. You earned it, and
I'll take it, and I'm feeling very.
That's what will allow you to keep going in your season if you want to, and then or if you take a shorter break and come back early, like keeping your like low cardio lower, food higher is going to allow you to be able to keep going.
And it's going to just keep my season to be like my body's going to look rested and recovered after this. Even if like we decide to push again next week, like having this whole week be like so much recovery with low cardio and everything, like my body is looking more rested. So that's that's where I'm at.
Yay.
That's awesome.
That's exciting.
Which I guess we should dive into today's topic.
Yes.
Of quitting the sport and when to stop bodybuilding altogether or when to take a break.
And we are not quitting the sport.
Competitive.
Right
yes.
No, we all quit right now.
It's not us. We're not quitting yet.
Clearly with our updates, we all have plans to continue on. But I think this was inspired by a conversation you had with one of your posing clients.
Yeah, I was with a posing client, and she's a master's client, and she just asked me, like, we were just talking about, she was just kind of saying she thinks she's going to be like done. This is going to be her last season, last run, and kind of was talking about why and stuff. And so then it got me into like, when we were talking about podcast topics, I was like, oh, this is kind of a good topic because I'm sure there's plenty of other competitors out there, whether you're, new to the sport and you don't know if this is for you, or if you've been doing it for a while and maybe you're not progressing to where you wanted, you thought where your goals started, or or maybe you've been doing this for a really long time and you are older in your competing career and it's just kind of time to hang up the heels. But we were just talking through different scenarios, reasonings why, and of why, and she was telling me her reasonings of why she's probably going to be like done this season and like forever done, like not competing anymore. And that can be a tough decision when especially if you're someone who has been competing for, I think, a long time, and you've been working through like trying to excel in the sport. That can be hard.
Your whole lifestyle.
It does.
I was about to say identifying with it, like it's part of your identity.
Because it like tough. To be honest, like even me, like this is what I do as a hobby, but it's also like my job and career with posing. So it is like my identity, like a piece of it, right? It's not all of it, but it's like a big chunk. And so for me to hang up my heels, if we one day like. That's like a sad and like it's just a decision that's like takes a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it could be something that's very like almost like bittersweet though. Like there
Yeah.
could be like there's like a lot of even like pros to quitting the sport and adjusting your lifestyle. Like I know there's some certain things that I have talked about recently, like with my partner Anthony, like looking forward to when we keep saying when we retire from our competitive life.
Yeah.
We'll never stop being fitness
Right.
people. We're not going to stop going to the gym. We're not going to stop eating healthy.
Mhm.
But like being truly a competitive bodybuilder,
Mhm.
like at some point, like that's shifting a priority for different
shifting
reasons.
priorities. Yes.
Like there's things I look forward to in that. Like I've been doing this since 2017. I'm like, this is all I do. Like my off seasons are improvement seasons. Like you're like, oh, I haven't had a free meal in weeks. It's like it's not an off. It's not a break. It's not stopping bodybuilding. Like it's like what we do full time.
Yeah.
As a hobby.
And it takes a lot out of you, just like even scheduling your days, like because
traveling,
especially during prep, right? You schedule things around prep as opposed to, like if you did retire, then you'd be going to the gym, whenever. Maybe you don't feel like it that day, or you're feeling a little bit more run down. Whereas with prep, you would push yourself through it.
Yeah.
And then that you would listen more to your body and maybe work out the next day, and it wouldn't be
like I'd say even in improvement season, like I build my schedule around like when I lift. I wake up, I get ready, I go lift, but I'm at the gym for like literally 3 hours because that includes steps, lifting, warm up mobility work, cool down, stretching mobility work, cardio, it includes all of it. I get it, or at least right now in an improvement season, I get it all done in one chunk.
Yeah.
And so if I look at my calendar, I'm like, oh my God, that is 3 hours, 5 days a week that I am at a gym. And so when I'm no longer like really actively competing, I honestly want to scale back my gym time to like 3 to 4 days a week. Like I really I want to be maybe a little bit more of a total body lifter.
Yeah.
Maybe still heavy glute focus because I still want a butt, always going to want a butt. But
build those
like
curves.
Those are the things that it's like I want that time back in my life.
Yeah, like
to
and have
do
time for even like other passions that you like learn about. Like you have been doing like baking. Like I'm sure you do more baking or like maybe
Eat
even
more
going
bacon.
hiking or like right.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I talk about like wanting to like cook more. Like I can like fit a lot of things in my macros and stuff, but
to have like
cooking dinner for my like partner, we talk about it all the time. We're like, oh, someday I'm gonna cook you dinner.
Or
where you don't have to weigh something, where you don't have to like, you can just use what the ingredients, the recipe
tells you to use, and not swap out and be like, oh, well, I used
substitute.
I substituted in stevia, or like, oh, we can't do the butter because we're like being conscious of it being lower fat,
like to just have a meal once that's like, periodically that is just.
And right now, or like in my competitive bodybuilding life, like when I get a free meal, I like want to go out because I want to make like a date night or an event with friends or a party or a holiday event or something. So I don't want to like cook, and I don't want to buy all the ingredients and have stuff in my pantry. Because then I won't use it again for months.
I hate wasting food.
Oh my gosh.
I hate it.
Yeah.
We just cleaned our freezer out today. And there was like stuff that had been in there like since we moved into the house, and we had to like throw it away. And I was just
makes you so sad.
Dollars in the garbage.
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
It makes me so sad.
Yeah,
but like at some point, like as much as we love the sport, and anyone else who does the sport like loves it, and it provides so much value to their lives. There is like when you walk away from it, I'm imagining, haven't yet done it yet, but I'm imagining that life, and I'm still gonna enjoy the health and fitness life. But it just opens. I'm assuming it will open up just like more room for other things. Maybe there's another new hobby out there that I didn't know I liked or was good at. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't know. I have no skills for anything other than picking weight up and putting it down. But just kidding. But maybe there is something out there. And then like there's just more attention that can go into like family members or friends or
relationships.
Just relationships, and maybe that's at some point you just want to put your like heart and soul into other things,
and especially when life starts pulling you in other directions too. Because there's always other big, like with you with the wedding and things coming up, you're right, like it's like there's just other things that sometimes you want to be able to even just mentally even just mentally be able to be a little bit more present for, or prioritize more, I guess is a good way of saying it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like my parents were asking me like, oh, so when do you guys think we should plan? And my mom's getting all excited. She's like, we should go dress shopping and look at venues. And I was like, Mom, I am still choosing this competitive bodybuilding life. It won't be till like 2026. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, okay, I'll
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
She's like, I guess I'll be patient. But she like understood because she realizes that I know that like I want to be fully present for like that type of event in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go on a honeymoon with no restrictions on food or considerations. And I have some big goals that like would make it difficult to take a break over the summer like that. And so I'm like, and Anthony and I have talked and we're both in agreement. We both have some unfinished business that we want to compete in bodybuilding for even through 2025. So it's like,
and you're kind of in that heat of your competing career right now.
Yeah,
and so,
I feel like we're in like a peak spot. So for us, this decision isn't happening yet. It's not something that we were discussing, but we still do talk about it and be like, okay, there's different life things that we want to accomplish, like a wedding, a honeymoon, and even traveling. We've traveled a ton for shows and gone to all these places, and we're like, we've really only taken like one vacation ever, like in like 4 years, like. But we're like, no, we want to conserve our money for like shows.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, okay, when we're done competing, we'll go take that trip to Europe for 2 weeks and spend the money. And I'm like, he's like, won't that be expensive? And I'm like, we spent way more than that doing the 2 shows back to back. Like literally a 2-week trip to Europe will cost the same as the 2 show weekends we just did.
Crazy to
if
think
not
about.
even less.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can find other local places to go. Like, and just explore and like that. And so that goes into the financial piece, right? Like, so
absolutely. That's a huge,
it's like the
one.
biggest thing. It's other than the time it takes away from like maybe family and loved ones and stuff like that, like financially, that's like, it's like the biggest factor for like a decision maker. And that was kind of what my client and I were talking about is she's like, I'd rather spend this money and like her and her husband want to go travel the world. They want to spend, their last kid is going out off to college. And so there's going to be no kids in the house and then they don't have to be home and they don't have to. And so
and that's exciting.
It's like a whole other little phase of life. And so, so she's like, I could just save these thousands of dollars every show I do and put that into just traveling around. And, so, and with her husband, so like putting all that time back in that she spent in preps and stuff back into her relationship, quality time, this other phase of life. So it's kind of like that. It's so not only the quality time, but the financial aspect is sometimes though, maybe it's not the financial part could be that, or it could be, I just don't have any more money. For this sport, you know. You could be in your young 20s and you're in college or you're just in the start of your career or whatever. Typically, if you're in your young 20s, you don't have a lot of money. No. You haven't really reached it. You know?
And you might not even have a ton of muscle. So it's like, why not save up and save that money, focus on that while you're still building. You don't have to stop being a bodybuilder. You can build and the stage will be there when you have got that dream job and you graduated college, and it will be there when you're ready again. Because quitting competing, even though there's some people that like quit competing and they quit competing forever, right? They just decided to make that change. But quitting competing could also mean just quitting for right now. And it can mean like, it's just not, it doesn't have to be on your radar because we're so like, when's the next improvement season? When's the next prep? When's the next show? When's the next? And so quitting competing could be, I'm just not going to think about this. I'm not going to think like a bodybuilder, not going to think about bodybuilding. I'm not going to plan my next prep. Track my food.
I'm not going to plan how long this improvement season is. I'm not going to maybe track my food, or maybe I am, but it's going to be more flexible.
Or more eyeballing or whatnot. But like,
intuitive.
It's hard to make that huge decision of forever.
Right.
And so sometimes it's like,
just
making
not right now.
the smaller decision, doing like just taking a step back. I'm taking a step back from the stage for now. We'll see what the future holds.
We'll see if I come back, and that's it. It's always there. There's always a show, and so. But I wanted to talk more about the financial piece because I think people. So even financially, you could just like not have the money. And there's a point where like you don't want to say I quit, right? Like no one wants to do that. No one wants to give up. No one, but but this is just an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
And
so
Yeah.
expensive.
It's very rare that bodybuilding is going to be your career. Usually what happens is that the only people where it's really their career is probably very top Olympians, top pros,
Like
top
the
Olympians.
1% of pros.
And they are, 1%. And they're making a lot of money from sponsorships. Well, and maybe they have coaching businesses where they're coaches or they work. But sponsorships won't last forever. The peak of your competing career won't last forever. It's a peak for a reason.
Yeah.
And you eventually, there will be newcomers that come in that take that peak away.
Yeah.
And so even those people, they're going to eventually not have those sponsors. They're going, and that money is going to be income that comes out of their pocket. So they need a backup plan. They need something else.
Yeah.
And so if you are making money from competing, like I will say, I make money from being a competitor, but because it leads me into my posing coaching and leads me into a posing coaching business.
But that like just strengthened your business, and your business core will still be there when you are done competing.
Yeah, because it's more exposure, if anything.
Right now it's just exposure, but most people aren't, they have other careers. They have other careers. Like, you guys have other careers. Both of you. Yeah. And so other careers. And I'm going to be honest, even me, like when I'm no longer competing, I currently think about it right now. I have to do something, get my business to some place where when I'm no longer competing, it still makes the same amount of money, if not more.
Yeah. Or
because,
some way to figure out a new,
or I have to figure a new way to
exposure.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like a way to build your business now.
Yes.
While you're a competitor, and then have a foundation for later.
Yes.
But and I think you even brought this up earlier when we were kind of discussing this topic about the stress from finances affecting your competing.
No, I think it's absolutely definitely I would say like a big rock, because people always talk about taking care of your big rocks, and then and I think it could also, it's something that you should assess even between shows, because sometimes you compete more than you think you're going to compete, right?
Sometimes,
like you think, okay, I'm going to do these 1 or 2 shows, and then you end up doing maybe a little bit better than you thought, and your coach is like, hey,
go to nationals.
Exactly, go nationals, or like, keep going. And then, then you really have to assess whether or not that's feasible for you, because I think competing isn't really fun when you have like other big fires kind of going on, like a credit card that's just like weighing in the back of your mind, or you were supposed to be, or sometimes it'll cause rifts in relationships because you were supposed to be saving for a house or saving, I don't know, for a trip or something like that. And all of a sudden you're like, no, I'm going to do another show. So that's like another $2,000 or $3,000 that's not going towards that goal that you had with your partner. So no, I think it's absolutely something you should definitely assess. I know for me, when I was a student, I definitely did not compete as often as I do now. I think I did maybe 1, maybe 2 shows a year if it was more local. But that was always a constant thing for me in terms of, how much is this going to cost? Like, can I do my own, like, where can I cut costs to maybe make it feasible? And that's one thing you can do, is kind of see if there's a way that you can make it work. But if you can't, I think it's super stressful to go to a show thinking about finances.
And it's like, then you might feel like you're not be able to give your all, like when like oh shoot, I'm not paying for my makeup, or I skipped out on hiring a posing coach because I just didn't have money for my regular coach and a posing coach. And so you don't feel like you're bringing your best. And it's like this is one of those sports where unfortunately it's kind of an all-in type sport. Like it's literally, you have to be all in so many areas of your life to really do well. I mean, everybody has success measured in different ways. Success for you might even just be stepping on stage, which is totally a acceptable and good and amazing goal to have. And so if that's your why and your goal, like that's excellent. But like there's different levels of it depending on your why and what you're doing. And I think I've said this so many times throughout every episode, is bodybuilding and bikini competing is a hobby. It's something that you do for fun. And so when something like finances takes away from it and it's not fun anymore, or maybe you're putting too much pressure on yourself and it's not fun anymore because you're not improving, or you're having issues with other things in your life, or maybe your body's having health issues. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
So why keep going?
Yeah.
Like if you can shift your priorities and your goals to improve all the so many different areas of your life that bodybuilding maybe is taking from that you don't even realize, like you could be a lot happier person.
Yeah.
But if it's still fueling you and feeding you and it's something that you're like thriving and it's contributing,
Adding to your life,
then keep going.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And
But
I think
it's a hobby.
Yeah.
Like if your hobby, like no one else is going to be like, oh, I have this hobby, but it's like making my life suck. They're not going to keep doing that
the hobby.
hobby.
No.
But I do think sometimes with bodybuilding, there's like some pressure to
especially
keep
when you're
going.
in season.
Yeah.
One thing that's really helped me is that before any season, usually in my improvement season or off season if it's a little bit longer and that sort of thing, I will usually make goals or boundaries for that next competition season. And I usually share it with my partner just because they, I think, can stay more level-headed, because once you get into it, sometimes it's hard to say no because you're competitive. We're all competitive. And so if it's like onto that next show and you know that maybe financially it's not going to work, but your coach really wants you, or you got, I don't know, top 5, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, the next one, it'll be the next one, that kind of thing. You want to keep going. But I think if you, for me at least, when I've set boundaries of, okay, Zach, I'm not going to do more than 3 shows this year because of this reason. These are my other goals. For example, this year, one of my goals was to pay off at least part of my student loans. And so I was able to do that. And that has just made competing that much more enjoyable, and especially going to this next part, because I know that my big rocks are taken care of.
Right.
That kind of thing. So that's always really helped me.
I think I kind of briefly mentioned if like your health is taking it.
Yeah, that's another reason
big
to
one.
stop. Like if you're, aside from financially, if you're experiencing just health issues, like if you've
Hormonal,
got
digestive.
And focus on that. Like maybe you get that cleared up and you can come back to the stage.
But you only have one body.
Yep.
Like if it's not worth destroying your body for a plastic trophy. Like it really isn't.
No.
I love competing and I'm competitive, but like it's not worth your health. Like if you have goals, let's say to have children and you're destroying your fertility hormones, like is it really worth maybe being that like 1% better with like on stage? Or like pushing to one more show if you're like destroying that future for yourself.
Getting that one more placing.
It depends, because there is optimal and healthy ways to do this and stop before anything gets even close to like that consideration. But I mean, there's people who have difficulty,
and that's
with
why
that.
we do things like checking blood work and getting routine checkups and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that just we are putting our bodies through an extreme thing, and all of our bodies are different and handle it differently. So
and respond differently.
So you could just, one of us could, or anyone could just be responding, unfortunately, negatively to something, and just have to take a back seat and focus on our health. And if that's you, then focus on that. Like, don't just keep competing because everyone else is doing it and you don't want to say you gave up. You didn't give up. You shift. Don't look at it, any of these reasonings. Don't look at it as giving up. You're just shifting your priority.
Yes, that's
I think putting you first is a good way to do it too.
Put your body, your health, your mental health before anything else. I think that's so important.
Mental health we haven't talked about really, but I think that's a good reason to take time off stage too. I know I have taken time off just because mentally I'm just not in it anymore. Like I don't, not that I don't want it. Not that I don't want it. And maybe that's also a big thing, is to really even just check in with yourself about just positively talking to yourself. Because if you can't give 100% to prep, is it really going to be a good prep? Do you know what I mean?
I had a client probably a couple seasons ago, and this has kind of come up periodically, so I think it's common-ish, but that decided that they competed for like a couple years, and then they decided that they could not get over playing the comparison game. And it just, it just wasn't healthy for them anymore. They didn't know how to not. They tried. They knew that they shouldn't. Like, they knew that, they shouldn't focus on that. But, and she made a comment to me and she's like, but we are being compared to, like, we are being compared.
You
And
are.
she's like, and I just, she couldn't do it anymore. And so it was a mental health thing. Like, it just it made competing not enjoyable for her. And that's all she could focus on. And so she was just like, I like it, but I'm just going to stick to being in the gym and not competing. And that's just feels better for me.
Yeah.
That's so okay.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
first of all, go you for being like aware of that.
Yes.
Like, to just
self-awareness and acknowledgement.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, not talking bad about the sport or anything, but just understanding what the sport is and that it just wasn't a good fit for her. And she's like totally okay with that. Isn't gonna like stop being in the gym or stop tracking her food. She's just not gonna get on stage.
Yeah.
And that makes her feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've talked to a couple other women where it's like they just know that like achieving that extreme leanness maybe is triggering for something.
Oh, I want to talk about
something for them with their own body dysmorphia or a previous eating disorder, or they're like specific, like, or then that sets that standard for them of like that's the only rewarded way they look. And so it like takes a lot of mental shift to be like, no, my healthy weight body is is beautiful and where it's acceptable. And so I think there's a lot of mental health around picturing your body at this extreme leanness and that being so rewarded because that's what you're pushing for.
Yeah.
And not even just the look, but also I've had clients say like
The weight
the
too.
behaviors, like even the behaviors during prep of sometimes it's triggering to be weighing your food all the time or to be weighing yourself all the time or that sort of thing. And sometimes, identifying that those things negatively impact you and you have to take a step back from that, I think is fair as well.
Totally fair. Totally fine. I don't think it shows any signs of weakness.
No.
I don't think it shows any sign of you're less than of a competitor. No, you're just a human being that this just doesn't work for you.
Yeah,
and
if
that
anything,
is
it's strength.
Yeah, it's strength.
Right?
Yes, that you're just aware of that. You recognized it and you're aware of that. And you can confidently just be like, this isn't for me. Like, that's so good. And then go focus on what is for you, what makes you feel good.
Yeah. And it might just be also, like we said before, it might just not be for you right now.
Yeah, you just need a little break.
Yeah.
You need a little break. Maybe you go focus on some other things.
Yeah.
And those other things build up just some other kind of like, strengthen you where it is something that doesn't bother you anymore. I don't know.
Yeah,
and
possibly in the future.
Another thing, a reason to stop competing is I've heard before people stopped is that they didn't like, so this sport is always evolving. The look is evolving. Muscularity or conditioning has evolved over the years, and they just didn't want to look like that as a female, and that's okay.
Yes.
Like, they just didn't want that much muscle, or they didn't want to have to get that conditioned, kind of like what you were saying about leanness. And they just didn't want that for them. They didn't want to walk around like that, and so it just wasn't for them anymore. And so that's what made them stop competing. And that's okay too. Like, unfortunately,
really
we
good
don't have like control over where the sport evolves. And so
even like for me, like people have asked like, oh, would you ever be interested in growing into like wellness or figure? And I'm like, no, like I would never want to have to wear this style of jeans that wellness competitors have to wear. Sorry, it's just not how I physically want my own body to look. I think it's insanely impressive, and I'm like so impressed and enamored by them, but like, do I personally want my body to look like that? No. So like I completely understand that the same way like bikini has become more muscular too. So like if someone who's just doing this at an amateur level for fun, they're like, that level that I'd have to get to isn't for me. Yeah. Like,
I'll be honest, I'm a little bit there with the upper body. I've said this plenty of times to them.
Yeah, you were
like,
talking about it last episode.
I honestly want my shoulder, and I don't have massive shoulders. Like I don't. There's girls that have way denser, way bigger shoulders than I do. But just me personally, this is just me personally, me as a female in my little body, I just don't want as much shoulder. I want smaller arms. I want
like, give me all of them.
I want smaller arms, smaller lats. I want a smaller upper body. I want a little bit of just a smaller, dainty upper body. I still want the big butt. Give me all the bikini butt. But I just and so if I got into I was told, honestly, I don't know, if I was told like you need to add a little bit more density to your delts, like if that was my feedback, it's probably never going to be my feedback. But if that was my feedback, I'd be like, that'd be the most depressing feedback. Like I'd be like, what? Like
you'd be really thinking.
I'd be really like, do I want to get bigger in my upper body? Like I did, And so now I don't know if that would make me want to stop competing just because of the goals I'm trying to achieve. So I don't know that true answer, but like that's an example. I don't really like.
But you already have plans for when you're retired from competing.
We're not lifting lower upper body. Nope.
Grow your upper body.
Nope.
Because
we're atrophying those things.
You know what you want to look like. And that's one of the cool things about even just being fit and healthy and in the gym is you get to sculpt your body.
Yes.
You get to change your body. You get to grow
Yes.
glutes if you want. You can grow. And you know what? If you just want to like PR on squats all day, like go for it. Go.
No, do you guys want to know when I quit competing? You know what I'm gonna do? Okay, there's this Pilates class. I'm gonna become a little Pilates like girl, and then I'm gonna have my heavy glute days in the gym.
Yeah.
But then the other days I'm gonna become this. So
Pilates
they have
with a
these
booty.
They have these booty burning Pilates classes, and so it's a lot of ice like holding and pauses and like. And honestly, I should do it right now because it probably would help me. That's what I'm going to become. That's me. I'm going to be in those little classes doing Pilates.
Another avenue of that, though,
I won't be.
Even just, oh my God.
I won't.
Even just with that. Oh my God.
I'll go to a class with you, but it won't be my thing.
I'm going to be that.
It's definitely not mine either.
That mid-30s girl in the gym. That's what I'm going to be. 40.
No, and I was going to say another avenue of that, just in terms of density, is not just look, but also how much time it would take for you to build that. So, like, if you get the feedback of you have to density in your upper body, or I guess it would be more like density in the lower body would probably take a little bit more. But and
it's like, do you want to spend 2 years?
Do you want to spend that 2 years? Yeah. So like sometimes
training a body part I hate. No.
Yeah. So sometimes it might just be the amount of time that it would take to achieve that goal. I know for me, when I stepped off stage at Hawaii, they told me that my upper body was more like geared more towards wellness or figure, and that I could grow into wellness or figure with my lower body. But I made the same choice. I was like, no, I just feel like my heart is way more in bikini. And so that's when I stopped training upper body completely. just back. But like, no, then when you're talking about shoulder press, I'm over here like, oh my gosh, shoulder press. I miss that. What is that? But yeah, so I think it's just also like figuring out what is you, like find you in competing, like if that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like the two have to coexist, and you can't lose one. You can't lose you and then have just compete, because it's just
because it's your life and you only have one to live. You know, like you got to like make a decision that affects so much of your life. Doing this sport, you know, it's more than if you're a soccer player. Like this is gonna take a lot more out of you on the whole, all the little life aspects.
And what's sad, this might be a sad way of looking at it too, but I'm realistic, so I'm just gonna say it.
Go for it.
Let's say you win the overall of some big national show. Next year, no one is going to remember. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be another winner, and we're all going to freak out over that winner and that kind of thing, right? And so, like, as bad as it, like, no one is going to remember you. And so, like, I know that sounds terrible. I know that sounds so terrible.
But it's true.
You know, like, even, like, who won the Olympia in 2013?
Courtney King.
Right? That would be who I would guess. But I'm just saying, like,
it wasn't
we don't know off the top of our head.
She was like more of a 2016, 17.
Yeah, so this illustrates my point.
Dang it.
Right? Because even at the very highest level.
Maybe it was Ashley.
Google. Cody?
Yeah.
Anyway, they're illustrating my point.
But we don't even know.
You don't know.
So
And that's the highest level of bodybuilding.
Yes.
Right? And so, like, for whoever that person is, right? They still live in that body, right?
I'm gonna
Yes.
laugh if it's Ashley Kay, who's like the most famous, most winningest
I know, and we're
pro
all here
of
like,
the-
is it Courtney?
And she won 3 years.
No one's
back
gonna
to
remember
back.
you, and she's literally
Yeah.
creating a legacy to be the.
Please don't watch this episode. That was not my point.
I really hope it's Ashley Kay
right?
now.
It is bigger than that.
But people don't remember that specific year or that
Do you need me to
specific
Google?
accomplishment. And that's the goal or the
Exactly.
concept
Yes,
you were
yes,
introducing.
yes.
It's not that they won't remember you.
It's Ashley Kay.
It's Ashley.
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Sorry, Ashley.
Yeah. But she won
Wait,
3 in a row.
13.
Yeah, 13.
Yeah.
She won 3. And like, sometimes people forget that.
But
And-
also, let's look at it this way. Back to Steph's point
Yeah.
is that there's one Ashley Kay, and the likelihood of you winning the Olympia, the likelihood of any
Right.
like this, it's very rare that you're
Yeah.
going to be the winner of an Olympia, and
Yeah.
so if you're winning an overall at anything, but
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
at a national show, like
Yeah.
just those are small. Okay, I don't know. It
Yeah.
sounds bad, but like those
Yeah.
are less than the Olympia.
Yeah.
So you're not going to remember. We're not going to
Exactly.
remember.
Exactly.
Yes, correct.
Exactly. And so, yeah, just remembering that one body,
Yeah.
that show is going to go on and on and on, and there's going to be winners and winners and winners. And yes, that's an amazing accomplishment. You should
Amazing.
absolutely
Yeah.
be proud of it.
Yes.
But just bigger picture.
Don't run yourself into
Just
the
bigger
ground. Don't
picture.
run your credit cards into the ground.
Yeah.
Don't run your relationships into the ground.
Yeah.
Don't
Run your
like.
health.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more to life than competing. It's a cool hobby, and I always say like it's temporary, even though it's a really freaking long temporary.
Yeah.
Like for me, I mean, if it's a decade of my life, like that's. I mean, if let's say I live
But what a cool
100
decade.
100 years, like it's a cool decade of my life.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah,
it's
with
a
a lot
tenth
of
of my
memories.
life. This little
Exactly.
baby blip.
Yeah.
Probably the decade where you spent the most money. Just kidding.
Probably.
Just
But like, like if you look at it in that big picture, like even though like for some people a temporary phase might be a 12-week or a 20-week prep, for us it might be a 10-year bodybuilding experience.
Yeah.
But like it's literally only that period of our lives. So it's just good to kind of remember that and put that into perspective. And also
Zoom out.
I think there's like one other little thing too is like the longer I've been in the sport and like met people on like even pro stages, national stages, amateur stages, the masters division is so freaking cool.
Yeah.
And so freaking
Really
respectful.
competitive. Yeah.
When I was a young person, I would be like, I don't never want to do masters. Like, who are these
That
people?
used to
Like,
be the like theme. Like, and
Yeah.
now the past like 3 years.
they're so impressive. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, goals.
Yes.
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 Like my teammate just she's like 55 or 56 years old and she just won both the masters classes like on Nashville Pro.
Wow.
And she's in
That
her
is
50s. Like
fantastic.
what?
Holy-
Like that is so freaking
Yeah.
cool. And she didn't
Mhm.
even start bodybuilding until she was like in her 40s. Like
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
yeah,
Yeah.
so cool.
See? Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm
that's-
only 35. So it's like, wait, that's like
Yeah.
in decades from now.
Yeah.
Like, so and then even like I was talking to Angelica Teixeira backstage at Texas Pro, and she's Miss Olympia, previous Miss Olympia, stopped, had 2 beautiful baby boys.
She's 40 now, huh?
And she's in her 40s, and she came
Yeah.
back and looked freaking insane.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I think she got like 4th or
Third.
third
Third or fourth.
or fourth
Maybe
at like
fourth.
some big shows, and
Yeah.
she's not done yet. She's just living life, and she's got 2 beautiful babies, and
Yeah.
she paused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
know,
just
we're like-
pause. Just pause this.
Like people were like, "Oh, did she retire to have children?" She stopped,
Mhm.
but she came back, and look
Yeah.
at her thriving. And that's not even a masters; that was an open, and she's in her 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you can do in this sport. You can
Yeah.
pause for a while and
Yes.
come back and like just use that time to focus on other things.
I told her she was so inspiring to me because I was like, it makes me feel like whenever I'm ready to stop and like have a kid, I can, but it's not the end.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But if I want it to be, then I'll accept that and
Right.
move forward.
Mhm.
But if I like the kid, like
If you get the bug again and you're like, hey, I want to
Yeah.
get back on stage,
yeah,
like
then I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just did it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Amazing.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah. No,
like
it is.
there's multiple top level pros that are in their 40s too.
Mhm.
And I think that's just insanely inspiring.
Yeah.
So I just had to like bring up that the masters division is become
It's
an
nothing to
incredible
speak down on
inspiration
at
for me.
all.
No.
like I'm really glad to be an open right now at my peak and everything, but like
Mhm.
I am so inspired. Like even if I don't ever compete in masters later on in life, like I'm like I know that when I'm in my 50s, there is no freaking excuse to be out of shape.
No.
We can thrive no matter what age we are. It's just a choice and how you choose to do your life.
Yeah, and how you choose to compete, right? How you choose to make competing fit into your life. I know I like watching pros who do take the pause, and I like just following their journey through the pause. So, like for example, Daraja,
she's
right? Is I don't even know how. 6 months. I can't remember how far she is along, but she's been really posting about just her mental and physical journey through being pregnant.
That's so cool.
And just even just saying, I really like how authentic and real she is in terms of, saying that as she's gotten a little bit bigger, then some days she does have hard days because she has been focused on her body for I don't even know how long.
Yeah, years.
But, years and
6,
years.
7, 8 years,
right?
something like
And
that.
so just even seeing that you can continue to show up authentically yourself, even though you took a step back from competing. She's still in the gym. She's still, just being active even in the
Health conscious,
competing world and going to competitions, and just being present because she loves the lifestyle. She loves I'm assuming she loves the, the community and everything and just being at shows. And I think she has her own posing.
She's got her own posing company and she's also a coach as well.
Yeah.
So that's
Super
actually,
cool.
you just said something, the community. Even if you stop competing, like being an active competitor, you can still be involved in the sport.
Oh, so many ways.
That's something I plan to
And
do.
involved in
I'm
the
a posing
community.
coach, but
Yeah.
even if that's something I plan to do. You can you can partner with promoters and get into being expediters. You can
become a judge.
Shows, you can become a judge.
Yeah.
Shows always need, I'm
Promoter.
assuming, need help, and you can become a promoter.
Yeah.
You can start a business that has to do with the industry of bodybuilding, whether
Makeup,
that is,
hair.
it could be makeup, hair,
Yeah, like
supplements.
Yeah.
She started Main Secrets Beauty.
Yeah. A lot of
Yeah,
pros,
clothing
like,
companies,
clothing.
just
Swimwear.
yeah,
Virtual
like all
swimwear.
kinds of things that
Yeah.
you can get into coaching, you can get into posing coaching, you can get in.
You could support your best friend still doing it.
Yes, you
Yeah.
can just go watch shows.
You can go to the
and
gym
just,
with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much other ways that you can be involved in the sport than just actively competing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there's that too. You don't have to give up on it altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like we really had more to talk about this than I thought we would. Like when we brought up this topic, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of it's interesting because we're all three so still in
it.
Mhm.
but we've all thought about what would be the reason that we stopped.
Mhm.
Why would we quit in the future? Or why would we retire? Why would we
Mhm.
take a break?
Mhm.
And so we've all thought about it because it's it's not defining our entire lives, but it is
Mhm.
who we are right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or a big
large
part of
part,
our
yeah.
Large
our
part.
lives right now, not
Yeah.
who we are, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think that's just kind of cool because it was it's probably something, even if we didn't discuss it as much, we've all really thought about it.
Mhm.
Because I know I have.
Yeah.
And there's
Totally.
parts that excite me. Like I went to coffee with my sister and my nephew, and I was like, someday,
I'll get to get a donut with you.
Yeah.
someday I'll order that with you too. I won't
Yes.
just drink my Black Americano and watch you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
But yeah, I think those are majority of the reasons why we've all kind of discussed and thought about stopping or why someone would want to stop. But I know everybody has their own journey of time. Like, some people it's going to be a one show thing. Some people it's going to be a decade of shows. Some people it's going to be a break. Some people it's going to be stopping forever.
Yep.
Everyone has their own journey.
It's your journey.
Yeah.
Focus on it.
Yeah. Remember, it's all about you. All about you in the
No one
sport.
else matters.
No.
Just
Yeah.
to some extent.
Pretty much. That's what we're saying. That's the takeaway.
Yeah, that's the takeaway.
It's
No
all
one else
about
matters.
you.
It's all about you. Be selfish. Just kidding. You know what I mean.
Enjoy life, and thanks for joining us for episode 25 of the Bikini Besties
25.
podcast.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.